Hi everybody, this is a VR to CIGAR CREED on his 100 sub giveaway. I'm smoking my new Meerschaum, and in it I've got Ratteray's Red Rapparee. It's just beginning to colour up at the bottom, which is quite nice. Right, CIGAR CREED asks, who was a big influence in your life? And before I begin, I'm going to just light up my pipe, make sure it's alight. The big influence in my life really was a friend called David. He was a fellow priest. He was an ex-monk. He'd been in community, and he was living with his partner Michael for most of the time that I knew him, I think, although I did know him when he was a monk in Bradford. David was one of those people who knew how to enjoy life to the full. And if you went to visit him, it was as if you'd never been away. So he was one of those people that we could be out of touch with for months on end, and then suddenly we'd contact each other, and it was as if we'd never parted. And Carolyn and I often used to go down and stay with David and Michael or wherever he was. He taught me to say Mass or communion, and I deaconed for him once, and most of you won't know what that means, but it was as if we were tied at the shoulder, knee, and so our movements were synchronized. We hadn't practiced or anything like that, but it was just that we knew how each other were going to move, we knew what each other were going to do, and it was very special. The people in the congregation remarked on it, that we were just so close, that it was a very moving service. And I preached there, and when I sat down, he said, "You bastard, I've got to follow that." But David was just so full of life. He was a remarkable cook. I'd call him a chef, really. But he could put together some amazing meals, and he held the most amazing parties that we were invited to. A lot of the times it would be many of his gay friends who came as well. So it was a chance to let your hair down and really have a laugh together. But the thing that impressed me most about him was that he was one of the most caring men that I've ever met. He taught me to hug, which is a very strange thing. But I was once down at his house staying for the weekend with him, and he came in after a really, really rotten day. And he just said to me, "I need a hug." And he came across and hugged me. And at that time, I was so hung up that my arms were rigidly down my side, thinking, "I've been hugged by a man." And he stopped and sort of held his arms out, held me at arm's length, and looked at me in the way that he had of sort of staring through his glasses, and said, "I need a hug, and you need to know the difference between a good hug and a bad hug." And we just embraced, and I held him. And later on, when I was moving to college, he came to say goodbye, and we were in the house, and he gave me a hug, and my daughter was horrified. So she said, "Don't hug my daddy." And he's indoors, and he said, "Okay." and opened the door and went out into the street with me, pulled me out into the street and gave me a hug. And my daughter was horrified because there was a bus queue just outside the door and they were all sort of looking. And she said, "Oh, for God's sake, come in," you know. But he was, as I say, one of the most caring men. And he taught me a lot about just living, just being, just enjoying life. When he was a monk, we'd go to the community and they would have parties at times. And what they used to do was put a bottle of vodka in the freezer so that it would be nice, cold and thick. There was one time when one of the monks had just come out of hospital and the prior said to David, "Go out and get a bottle of wine. We should celebrate tonight that Richard's coming out of hospital." And David went out and bought the biggest bottle of wine that he could find. I think it was something like 2.5 litres. And when he came back with it, the prior said, "I said a bottle of wine, not a gallon of wine." And David said, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweet sin, you know, so forgive me, Father." So that's the guy who influenced me most and still influences me, even though he died several years ago. I very often think of him, hear his voice. Usually when I've done something that I sort of think, I wonder what David would think of that, or I wish David was here. So that's my video for your giveaway. I don't think I really want to go into many more details about David, except to say that he really was the best friend anybody could have, and he was friend to many, many people. Now, may you be richly blessed, and may your God always be with you.